This first game's a relatively new game. It came out this year and it's on the PS5. It's a survival horror game and it kind of fell into the horror October month theme of my whole random game selection madness that I do. And that game is IKAI. So this is kind of an interesting game. It's basically you play it you're a shrine maiden and a demon has come to the village and you have to protect the village from the demon. I think the main character's name is Naoko, and it takes place during like feudal Japan. I'm thinking maybe like the late 1800s or so. She makes references to things like blackening her teeth, and I know that was popular in the Edo period, which is kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever played a game set in that time period before. But it's a first-person game. You wander around, you solve puzzles, slide puzzles, and marble puzzles and things like that. And it is one of those horror games that kind of falls into that you're sneaking around and hiding from something chasing you, which they're not exactly my favorite. I'd rather like kind of face the enemy head on and know that there's a chance to defeat it. But this game's not so bad. It's certainly not as bad as a lot of those other games where somebody's chasing you in this inexorable fashion and you feel like hopeless. At least in this game, you feel like you have a fighting chance. But on top of that, other than the fact that something's chasing you and it is a little spooky, most of the scariness comes from just jump scares, but I don't think they ever really made me jump the whole game. I found it more intriguing than I did scary. But the game, you can see, it looks good, but it's definitely a budget game. There's not really any music that I remember. It's mainly just like ambient sounds as you're walking around. In terms of like what you'll hear when you're playing, there's a voice actress, but I feel like she's trying way too hard. Her diction is way too clear, and it's very stilted and awkward. You can tell that it was poorly translated, and she's just reading verbatim what's off the sheet. And she sounds like she's like a diction coach. Everything is very accented and perfectly spoken the entire game, and it feels very weird. It's almost like a young female William Shatner. But I thought the game was pretty cool. You're traveling around this shrine in the surrounding areas, trying to ward off these spirits. And some of them the last spirit's really cool. The final stage has some unbelievable parts that are very striking visually. I don't want to spoil them for you. But I thought it was really cool, and I was engrossed during those periods. And the game's short. I like it. You can really experience it all in about 3 hours, which, that's perfect for me. I'm busy, and I like to play a lot of games. But there are some things that really bring the game down. Some of the puzzles make like no sense, and there are no clues on how to solve them, or they're just extremely obtuse. And there are swaths of people on the internet just complaining about them and like, how are you ever supposed to figure this out? And honestly, some of the puzzles, I think 2 of them I had to look up because I was just hopelessly lost. One of them, on a walkthrough, the guy explained how to do it, and I was, I had the mindset like, how would you ever figure that out? That's impossible. And then one of them on the walkthrough, actually 2 different walkthroughs, the people said they never figured out how to do the puzzle, and it was only through like hours of random trial and error that they were able to figure it out. And even now, I don't know how you solved that puzzle. I don't know how they solved it. No one knows how to solve it. It was too weird, and it just seemed random. And I have no idea how it works. So without assistance from the internet, there's a chance you may never be able to finish this, pretty brief 3-hour-long game. So that's a big downside to it when the game kind of relies on its puzzles for the gameplay, and then some of the puzzles don't really work. That's a flaw. And the ending of the game is it tries to be really profound and build up this big twist, but there's not enough backstory going into it to really make it impactful, and a lot of what happens kind of seems out of left field. But I had an okay time with this game. It felt like a demo of a game or a student project or something more than a full-fledged game, and it's really just kind of a spooky walking simulator in the Edo period with some, puzzles in there of various quality. So how is IKAI? I mean, I beat it in 3 hours. I had to get some help off the internet. Like I said, I don't even know how to solve one of those puzzles. I'd never found any solution that anybody could explain how it worked. It was just random. I don't know if it's based off some ancient Japanese game where you need to know the rules to do it, to make it make sense, but I'm completely unfamiliar with it, and the people that wrote the walkthroughs through the game were completely unfamiliar with it. So there's something's lost in translation there, literally. But IKAI was just kind of a mediocre experience. It's helped by being really short. It's only 3 hours long, but it's definitely like a 5 out of 10. Aww.